With those two dudes on the floor, not only does it change how you defend, you also got to decide which one of those guys are you going to let get there so you can take care of everybody else, which is why the trade mattered when we start talking about the overall picture of this team in the playoffs. Stephen A., I was watching you a couple weeks ago. You talked about the Lakers potentially being able to make a run, and that was when LeBron James was healthy and playing at a very high level. I will not dismiss the fact that LeBron James and Luka Doncic are on the same team and the level in which they elevate their games once they get into the playoffs. Now, health is an issue for everybody. Age, I'm not talking about that with LeBron. He's already defied it. There's no sense in talking about him running out of gas or being too tired as the playoffs come along. I think this team will be fine. When we when we talk about winning a championship, they are going to have outer worldly performances. We all understand that. But they have. And we've seen it in playoffs. Luka took his team to the championship 2 years ago by himself, basically. And when he got injured, obviously Kyrie was out there, but it wasn't the same. I think these guys, not fine, but Stephen A., they can make a run if health permits when they get into the playoffs.
Well, I think I'm going a step further. I think they could beat anybody in the West but OKC. I'd pencil them in as a victory against anybody in the West other than OKC if they are healthy. But here's where it gets interesting. So they don't have LeBron last night. Luka drops 45. What does Doc Rivers say? It's Luka. We kind of knew he was going to get his. We kind of made sure we guarded him one-on-one. We didn't double him. We sort of dared anybody else to beat us, knowing they couldn't do it. Now, the combination of Luka and LeBron's on the court makes it very interesting because when LeBron wasn't on the court, Luka held on to the ball a lot. They were in ISO situations. He was the ball hog. Others weren't nearly as involved as they could have been because he damn near moves in slow motion sometimes. But with LeBron on the court, even though the ball is in his hands, he gets rid of it quicker because you got LeBron resembling a damn wideout for crying out loud. The combination of those two things opens the floor up for other shooters and for other teams, for other guys to get open shots. Those guys are going to have to hit those open shots in order to beat a team the caliber of OKC.
Yeah. You know who hit some shots last night? UConn. All right, we'll keep it rolling, guys. When we come back on First Take, you saw what happened at the Garden Big East tourney. Steph shot his way into the history books last night. Steve Kerr says this is just the tip of the iceberg. Can Curry score another 1,000 threes before he hangs it all up? We'll dive in. Plus, the minutes stacking up in New York, and now some players are pushing back. Does this spell trouble for the New York Knicks? You don't want to miss that debate.
This morning, Mikal said that he's talked to you in the past about these starters not playing as many minutes to give the bench guys some opportunities. And I was wondering what your thoughts were.
Well, we never had a conversation about it.
Tibbs, quick to deny a conversation between he and Bridges yesterday on the show. Stephen A. let his concerns be known. S.A.?
When have we ever heard Mikal Bridges complain about anything, let alone minutes? That's not the same page. That's not a good look for the New York Knicks. And if you got to choose between a player and the coach, under these circumstances, when you're looking at players being worn out, Mikal Bridges ain't say that for himself, y'all. He's speaking for the team. And Tom Thibodeau says it didn't happen? That's a bad sign.
All right, Peter Rosenberg, if anyone knows New York, it is you, sir. Do you agree with Stephen A.?
Not at all. I mean,
really?
No, listen, do I agree that Tibbs denying the conversation is weird? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was a weird look. Like, what's the point of even saying that?
Yeah.
I would, in fact, cover up for the player potentially. Yeah. But the part that Stephen A. really lost me on was Tibbs is in trouble. This team, if they beat Golden State on Saturday on ESPN ABC, 20 games over 500. Tibbs is not in trouble. If this conversation had been had on the Roommates podcast by Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart, then we are having a conversation about trouble. Steven, I love you. You were talking about Mikal Bridges like he has the credibility of Steph Curry. The guy, he shouldn't be worried about being up 3 minutes a game this year. He should be worried about being down in every statistical category from where he was in Brooklyn. We don't believe you. You need more people. Literally, Mikal Bridges, to me, is not the player that can cause a real fracture on this Knicks team.
Stephen A?
Well, first of all, let's understand something, America. We understand that Peter is prone to disagree with me from time to time, and he's also prone to be corrected. So let's start right there.
Why are you bringing up old
talking
stuff,
about a guy? We're talking about a guy in Mikal Bridges, Molly.
Yeah.
In his, what is it now, 7, 8 years in this league, he's played all 82 games 4 times. Mm-hmm. Normally, he's playing, what is it? Last year, he played 82 games, okay? He got hurt one year and didn't play that much, right? We got that part, right? The man doesn't miss games. He doesn't miss games. Now let's go to Thibodeau, because this is the part that you were missing. I'm not trying to say that Mikal Bridges could get Thibodeau fired. I'm saying Thibodeau can get himself fired. Why do I bring that up? Peter, do you know how highly respected Tom Thibodeau is? He is considered a genius on the defensive side of the ball. He's a damn good coach. He's won 58% of his games in his 13 years as a head coach. He's only been to the conference finals once, but he's been a damn good coach, 58% of his wins. The lone complaint about him is that he will run you into the ground. The lone complaint. Nothing else. Nothing else. When he was in Chicago with Derrick Rose, when he was in Minnesota with Butler and Cat and those boys, okay? The problem is that, and only that. Nobody questions his basketball acumen. Nobody questions his commitment to excellence, how hard he works, how hard he gets his players to play. But the point is, being a players' league, when a player who never says anything comes to you and says, yo, the starters need a break, and the bench need to play more, that's a problem. Hold on, because I got numbers here for you, Peter.
Okay.
When he was with the Bulls, last 3 years in Chicago, 3rd in the league in terms of starter minutes. First 2 years in Minnesota, number 1 in the league in starter minutes. Last 2 years, before this season, Knicks were number 2 in minutes. And this year, they're number 1 starters, 36.2 minutes, almost 2 more minutes per starter. I am telling you, if you look at the Knicks and they end up looking fatigued and run down and stuff like that, it's the only complaint anybody has ever said about Tom Thibodeau. He himself. We got footage, Molly, of him being on First Take.
I want to let Peter respond, and I understand you're upset about the messenger, and I just wanted to piggyback that point, and I said this stat to you yesterday. 3 of the 6 top players in minutes per game in the entire league right now.
Absolutely. No, listen, Stephen A. just said a lot of facts. We know the biggest issue with Tibbs, and certainly in terms of criticism around the league, and specifically in New York, is about the way he uses starters. He's not wrong about any of that. My problem is, it's the messenger. If this had come from someone else, I would say this is a huge issue. So we already knew this about Tom Thibodeau. What changed because Mikal Bridges said it? I mean, let's be real. Before Mikal Bridges traveled 15 feet and knocked down that game winner the other night, the conversation about Mikal Bridges has been what a disappointment he's been on this team. We were adding a 4th member of the Villanova squad. This was supposed to be the missing ingredient that took them to another level. He has not been that guy. Now, listen, did he point out the same thing that a lot of people outside the garden saying bing bong are pointing out? He did, but I don't think that changes anything for Tibbs within this organization.
But do you think it hurts them?
But here's the
Stephen A. Yeah, go. You're okay, Stephen A. You can talk.
Here's the part that you're missing, Peter. You're talking about the greatness of a Steph Curry jeopardizing somebody. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to you, you have a guy that is considered an Iron Man when it comes to availability. That is Mikal Bridges. He doesn't miss games. He doesn't get shabby minutes. He never says anything. So when he speaks about minutes played on behalf of himself and his starters, when you traded 5 picks to get him because he's best friends with your superstar, who, by the way, got his own podcast with Josh Hart. It's not an accident that when you got 3 of the top 6 minutes per games
being played by New York Knicks starters. And one of them speaks out. Yo, we need some rest.
Stephen A., we have to hit the top
It's
of
an
the hour.
indictment.
So here's what I need to know from you. So what's your issue? You want them playing less minutes? Like, how do we rectify this?
I'm saying if you're Tom Thibodeau, at some point you got to trust somebody other than
I
your
agree with
core
that.
seven.
Okay,
I
so
agree
you
with
have
that
to
part.
change your
Especially when you got
stripes
starters
and let
complete.
guys rest. That's what you
He
said.
has to.
Okay.
If he doesn't do it, Molly, they're going to get another coach in a couple of years. I'm telling you.
Okay.
They're going to get somebody else.
All right, fair enough.